last month, you might recall, we talked about the notion of loving your neighbor. And the most important thing in loving your neighbor, in my opinion anyways, is to become aware. And as you become aware and more conscious, then to invite others to come to that same realization. To really love your neighbor as yourself, I think, really in a sense involves seeing your neighbor as you've come to know yourself. And as you grow in your own awareness, that you might assist them to become more aware as well. That's always the goal. So this little handout at the beginning of our teaching today is called Who Are God's Teachers? And it comes from A Course in Miracles, Manual for Teachers, has all the information there at the bottom. So who are God's teachers? A teacher of God is anyone who chooses to be one. His or her qualifications consist solely in this: somehow, somewhere, he or she has made a deliberate choice in which they did not see their interest as apart from someone else's. Once a person has done that, their road is established and their direction is sure. A light has entered the darkness. It may be a single light, but that is enough. That person has entered in agreement with God, even if they do not believe in the divine. They have become a bringer of salvation. They have become a teacher of God. So when you put those things together, a teacher of God is someone who's made a deliberate choice that your interests are not the only interests in the world, that we have interests in others, whether it's family, friends, whoever it might be. And our greatest goal in life is to be able to have this presence within ourselves and to be able to extend it and to share it with others. That to me is our direction. So with that in mind, I'm going to go into the teaching here today. So let me just begin by first of all saying that it's always a great joy to share the monthly teaching with you. I think we're all growing, we're all becoming a little bit better, and as we become better, we certainly are able to assist other people to become better as well. It's really nice to be good and to be with others who are good, to be with our families, and to try to really assist people just to become, in a sense, their best selves. So this month's teaching is entitled Love, Sweet Love. Never guess where that comes from. So I think we can all pretty well agree that with the words of that song, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing we have too little of. My presumption is that we all would say that that's pretty much the case. So many times we just don't seem to have that love in the world that we would like to see. So what I'd like to suggest here today is that I think I want to examine why there seems to be a scarcity of love, especially maybe in our own personal lives, where obviously it counts the most. So our goal today, in a sense, is to take a look at this notion of love, to have a better look at it, and to see, in a sense, how it plays itself out. So what I'd like to do is to begin with the teaching from A Course in Miracles, then related to a couple of class situations that we had in Indianapolis recently. First of all, the teaching from the Course. In the Course in Miracles, makes no bones about it, Jesus simply says, teach only love, for that is what you are. Teach only love, for that is what you are. And I think realistically, we would all say, we feel that loving energy. We want that loving energy to be who we are. We want to express it. We want to allow that energy to be the way that we relate to people, and especially the way that we relate to ourselves. This teaching is very much substantiated in the New Testament, where it simply says, God is love, and the person that abides in love abides in God. It's a classical win-win situation. When a person is in love, they are in God, and when they are in that love, they express that love to others. Wonderful situation. So the clear teaching is that we are this loving energy, and obviously our goal is to be able to bring it into expression. But we had two comments from our class in Indianapolis a week ago Saturday that were really kind of interesting. The first one was this. The gentleman said, teach only love is what the world would like to believe in. It's what the world would like to believe in. But that world is a very, very tough place. And it's difficult to always to bring forth this love in the way that we would like to live it. I think there's a certain element of truth to that, without a doubt. And then another gentleman followed up immediately by simply saying that he wanted to do something loving, and he felt a resistance, both from within himself to put it out there, and then secondly, he felt a resistance from what other people might say about what he was putting out there. So the two of them said, you know, this would really be nice, but it's a very difficult thing to do. Teach only love. Even though it feels right, it's just hard to always put it into practice, even if that's what you really want to do. So we were driving home from Indianapolis a week ago Saturday, and I'm in the car there, and Nis was driving, and these thoughts began to ruminate within me. And there were three questions that seemed to come to me that I felt needed to be answered in this particular area. So the first question very simply was, well, what stops us at times from being as loving as we would like to be? Just what stops us? What are those fearful fragments of the mind that have a tendency at times to take over? So I thought of these four. The first one, I think, is people sometimes will make fun of you. They'll make fun of your actions like, oh yes, you're Miss Goody Two-Shoes. Oh yes, you're Mr. Perfect. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. And they'll just kind of look at you with that look on their face and just have a tendency to kind of downplay the good intentions you might be having. The second thought that came to my mind was, well, people sometimes will criticize your loving activity as dumb or stupid. People will take advantage of you, you know. People are going to walk all over you, you know. You'll go through life in a sense like you have these rose-colored glasses, and realistically you're not doing anything that's really going to be helping people. And then thirdly, some people look at being loving as being weak or being effeminate, being ephemeral, and that it's really not the hard, tough, manly thing to do. And many times it isn't, and thank God for that, that's for sure. But I think what I find more than anything else is we have this massive, collective, human belief system that has a tendency to downplay act of love or act of kindness on a day-to-day basis. There are so many people that criticize, make fun out of, and so on. It's very hard when you just kind of feel this heaviness at times weighing down upon you. And then there was this last thing that was very, very interesting to me anyways, and I took a good look at it myself. Sometimes we're inconsistent in our love. No one's making us or telling us to do anything, but sometimes we're just inconsistent. Sometimes there's kind of like a remnant of disbelief in you. Is this what I really want to do? Is this how I'm really going to act? There's that kind of residual ego within you that every once in a while says, well, I'm not going to do it, even though sometimes you do it. So you have all of these thoughts in a sense, all of these ways in which people have a tendency to criticize us, and yet you still feel. You still feel that, well, you know, we ought to teach only love, for that is what we truly are. So the key for us is, what can we look at? What do we need to take a look at that will help us more deeply into our loving? Some suggestions here. So the first question then, to me anyways, gave rise to the second question. What is it about love that sometimes we still don't understand? What is there about love that we need to grow in and that we need to know more about? Felt that was a legitimate question, at least for me. Now, let me just say, as these answers came to me, I'm not talking just about you. I'm talking about me, talking about us, talking about all of us. What is it that we need all to know more about concerning this loving disposition? I'm going to suggest a couple things. The first thing I would suggest is we need to know the depth of love. When we're talking about the depth of love, we're talking about a very mature love. It's a love that resides within our heart center. And the neatest thing about the love that resides there is that when you are in that love within yourself, the depth of that love enables you to accurately see what is going on in the world. So that this mature love within yourself, it's not simply a romantic love, it's not simply an emotional love, but what it really is a mature love that enables you to see what's going on. Sometimes we don't realize the depth of that, but as we continue to grow in the awareness, what I would want to suggest to you more than anything else is your ability to see what is going on from the depths of your love is probably the most beautiful thing you could ever do in life. Whenever you act from that depth, whenever you act from that place, then you see the most clearly of what is going on in your immediate situation. It's been my experience in life that whenever I look at what's going on from this place within me, this is where I see it most clearly. And this place within me that enables me to be able to see what's going on most accurately. So the first thing I would just want to suggest is sometimes we don't understand the depth of the love that is within us. There's the second point. The second point that really came to me that became extremely interesting was the fact that sometimes we don't realize, in a sense, the power of that love. So let me just share with you at least what I see things occurring. What I have found is that whenever we act from this presence within us, it has worked every time. There has never been a time where I have not acted from this presence that it has not worked. There have been times I haven't acted from the presence and it didn't work, but there's never been a time when I have acted from this presence, from this way of seeing things, that it has not worked. It works all the time. And because it works all the time, it gives you the confidence that you need. This, to me, probably more than anything else, is what has helped me to understand things better. Whenever I operate from this place, when I put it into action, I just see that it is the most effective thing I can possibly do. Again and again and again and again. It has never, never, never failed me. So I just want to give you my encouragement that the depth and power of this presence within us is such an important thing. And especially when we can be supportive to others, when we can encourage others to act from that place within them. It is just the most important thing we can possibly do. Such an important thing for us. Which then brings me, in a sense, to the third aspect, in a sense, the third question, and that is, well, why are we still at times, in a sense, reluctant? Why is it, in a sense, that we're still reluctant to be able to do this? Now, I just want you to know, I'm talking to myself, not to you. Okay? Just want you to know that. What I would suggest to you is that for many of us, in a sense, we have not yet made this love our sense of self. Let me just repeat that. We have not yet made this love the sense of self that we truly are. It's not that we don't understand the concept of love, but sometimes it just goes to the back burner of our minds. We have the concept back there, but it's very difficult to bring it forth. What I would want to suggest is that for many of us, in a sense, there is still a remnant of disbelief. There's a remnant of disbelief that it really is the way and that it works every time. And I would suggest that the reason why there is a remnant of disbelief is because, talking to myself, the world oftentimes is too much with us. The world takes over. Family, friends, situations, sometimes in subtle ways, sometimes in not so subtle ways. The world just has the tendency to take over. Only you can know the truth of the statement. Does the world get in your way of love? Or do you bring your love into the way of the world? I'll just say it again. It's a big statement for us. Does the world get in the way of your love? Or does your love now become expressed in the world? It's not that we don't do loving things, but sometimes even the doing of loving things, we simply come from a world perspective and not necessarily from the perspective of love that is within us. I find this to be a very important thing in our lives, and talking to not just you, talking to myself. The third question I would just want to suggest is the following one. The first one, if you recall, was what stops us from being loving? The second one, what do we need to do to know more about it? But the third one that I would suggest to you is this: how will we go forward in our loving? So just suggest a couple of things. How will we go forth to express that depth and that power in our lives? Let me suggest the following. The first one is one that only you can do. The first one I would suggest is that for each one of us, we have to clarify our sense of self. We have to clarify who it is that each one of us truly is. So what I would just want to suggest to you is, well, you are the Christ. Yeah? You are the Christ. That each one of us is here to bring the God Spirit here into the planet. And whenever we live that love, it's the greatest thing in the world. So what I just want to suggest to us is that we are that energy. We've studied enough, we've gone to enough classes, enough book studies to know that we are the Christ. Our purpose is simply to bring heaven to earth. That's really our goal in life. To do this, we have to let go sometimes of the limitation of our personalities and allow the fullness of the love within us to come forward. It's all how you see yourself. I encourage you to realize your depth. Realize your power. Realize, well, what works. More and more and more and more. And regardless of what other people are doing in the world, I would just want to suggest to you that the most important thing for you to do is to bring forth your sense of self. This to me is the best thing that we have going for us. The second thing I would just suggest you might be the following. What will love do for you? I think you should ask yourself the question, what does this love do for me? Let me just suggest this. In my opinion, anyways, love is, or gives you, the stability point in a world which oftentimes leads us astray. As I see it, love is in a sense that stability point. It is stable and powerful. This stability point within you gives you a way of seeing things absolutely clearly. I'll say it again. Love gives you a stability point so that you kind of know what you're doing. You kind of see what's going on and understand that if it's not in the vibration of love, I'd better take another look at that. So what I'd suggest to you is the stability point boils down to these two things. The first one I would suggest is you won't be fooled. You won't be fooled by worldly values and people's opinions that do not resonate with the principles and the feelings of love. Your ability to discern what is of love will help you to discern also what is not of love. A lot of people say and do a lot of things, and a lot of it certainly is just gossipy, hearsay, opinion, etc. If it's not resonating with the frequency of love, I believe you'll be able to see through it much more clearly. And then bring into that situation the frequency or the stability of love, which will get you moving in the right direction. In my opinion, it is the stability of love that is the modeling that each one of us is learning to do better and better. So when I said you are the Christ, you are the God Spirit, I think we're modeling that behavior. It's not something foreign to us. It's a presence within us. It's a presence within us that we're able to bring into expression here in the earthly plane. I think we're doing this. One last point. When you finally pass, when you finally leave the planet, whenever that might be, 150 years from now, 20 years from now, who knows, whenever, well, you never know, never know. What will you take with you? That's an interesting question. I've often thought about it. What do you take with you when you leave? Your possessions? Your money? Your relatives? A mixed bag, might I say. Never quite sure at times. Friends? Family? Buddies? It's a very, very interesting question. And we often say the Brinks truck does not follow the hearse to the grave. Just does not do that. So you ask yourself, what do you take with you? I'm just going to suggest to you, what you really take with you is the consciousness. It's the love that you have come to. I believe that that's what we take with us. The ultimate question, by and large, when we leave here is, well, how much have you loved? How much have you loved? How much if you just kind of did what Jesus said? Teach only love, for that is what you are. I think you take with you your consciousness. But this is much better. We already have that consciousness now. What we're going to take with us is what we simply have. And we'll be living this way for many, 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 many years. And when we decide to pass, we will take with us the way we have become, namely living in that loving energy. We're capable of this. Got to help each other. But I think this is our direction. So let me conclude. I think I talked a little longer again today. I've been doing this the last couple of times, not sure. But you hear those words of Jesus, teach only love, for that is what you are. And you feel the depth of that, don't you? Don't you just feel that power that is within you? Very important for us to help each other in this way. But I think when you hear the words of the song, teach only love, such an important thing, or love, sweet love, that's the only thing in a sense there's not enough of. I think, without being schmaltzy, I think we're the sweet love. I believe that we are the sweet love and the strong love and the stable love that we're bringing here into the world. I believe we're doing this. It's our joy and our happiness to do so when we can share it with others, what fun it is. And especially it's so important for us to share it among ourselves here so we can allow this to be our direction as we go forward. So with that in mind, let me take us into meditation and kind of see where we are. So again, let us just be thankful that we have this wonderful opportunity to focus on those words of Jesus. Teach only love, for that is what you are. Let's use that as the intention of our meditation. Let us now begin the meditation today by simply focusing on the breath as we normally do. Just a natural breathing in and breathing out, nothing forced, but focused. And particularly if a thought comes into your mind, just let it pass. Your natural breathing rhythm. Stay focused. Please begin. Let me now give you another set of guide words. On the in-breath, just say to yourself the word inner. On the out-breath, the word quiet. Inner, quiet. If a thought comes in, let it pass. No, thank you. Please maintain your focus. Please continue. Now, just before we proceed, I'd just like to ask you to notice something. Would you notice how quiet you become? Very alert, but quiet. Settled. There's a presence that you're beginning to focus on. An inner you. Just notice this. Let's do one more thing before we proceed with the meditation. Just take your hand and place it over your heart-lung area. And as you do so, just feel the breath. Feel the breath as your lungs rise and then as they fall. Feel the breath, helping you to feel more and more attuned to the spirit that is within you. Please continue. You may put your hand back on your lap, and then I'll ask you to notice something in just a moment. Would you notice how you have turned inward? You've moved more fully into the inner you. And would you simply say to yourself, well, here I am. This is me. This inner presence, well, this is me. Now I'm going to mention 3 things and invite you to respond. The first one, when Jesus said the words, "Teach only love, for this is what you are," would you simply notice that that is who you are? This is the way you most want to be. This is your forever consciousness. The second point, the depth and the maturity of this love enables you to see clearly what is going on. You see below the surface. You're not duped, but you see clearly. Notice this quality of love. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. And lastly, why would you do it? Except for the fact that it works all the time. It brings resolution, not delay. Let us now conclude our meditation by bringing our attention back into the room and let it embrace all of us here together today. And may we say for and with each other that we support each other, that together we are the Christ consciousness. And may each one of us feel that we are with each other as we go forward in the one Christ mind. May you feel that and embrace each other. And lastly now, would you just bring that attention back into your physical body? Your eyes again just gently closed. And would you notice how good you feel? How absolutely good you feel. Because we have focused on love. And that's what we are. And just when you're ready now, just invite you to gently breathe your eyes open. Nice smile on your face. And just when you're ready, open that loving heart of yours and allow its goodness to shine through.